Go. Cool. Well, it's great to meet you.
Yeah, absolutely. I was looking forward to meet you as well, Mr.
My name is Alex.
Alex.
Yeah, just call me Alex. What's your name?
Jermaine. You can
Jermaine.
call me Jermaine.
Great to meet you. Great to meet you. How long have you been a lawyer for?
I've now been a lawyer for practicing 12 years,
Nice.
I believe. Yeah, 12 years. I graduated from McGill.
Nice.
You?
I've actually been a lawyer for 25 years.
25.
Yeah, getting old, and I went to Columbia, New York.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Interesting.
McGill has an incredible law program.
Yeah, I mean,
Amazing
it is well known for the law department, but Columbia, so is Columbia.
It's
Do
not
you
bad.
know Mr. What's his name again? Zane, something like that.
No. I took a couple of classes a little while ago, but I mean, it's so long that
Right.
I don't know, 25 years now.
Fair enough. And so you were hired by Marlene, and I guess we're here for the same reason.
Yeah.
This
So,
couple, what do you think about prenuptial agreements?
I mean, I think it's a great way to protect both individuals.
Yeah.
Obviously we're in that business,
For sure.
so I think there's value in some cases, and I think it's a good thing to have for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of important things that they wanna deal with, but I think the reason why they hired us is because they just want to make sure that this goes smoothly, and
Exactly.
they can have
Well, it's better off that way because if they were to do it themselves, they could get emotional, and we can just stay cold-headed, discuss things lawyer to lawyer,
yeah.
and for sure, it's our job to protect our customers' best interests. But I'm sure we can agree today that our customers both interests are to be married,
Oh yeah, they
make
love each other,
children,
of course.
live the life, and
Exactly.
be
Hopefully
happy.
they'll never need a prenup.
No, hopefully.
That's the idea here, right?
That's the idea. I'm glad to hear that. Mr. Jacques personally asked me today to talk to you in total transparency. He told me, he walked me through his needs, his thoughts, his emotions, and I'm here to represent him as if I was him. Simply, I just have a few legal concerns in mind that he doesn't.
Of course.
But yeah, no, he really asked me to represent him in total transparency, and I'm gonna represent him as if I was.
Yes, of course. I mean, same thing with Marlene, obviously. I mean, they know each other better than we know them.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, anything that wouldn't be transparent to begin with would be tough to swallow on either of their ends.
For sure.
So yeah, obviously, total honesty. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm sure they have different interests. We'll go through them. But we just want to make a good deal and protect both of our customers.
Absolutely.
Great. So I mean, if you don't mind me asking, I don't mean to sort of dive into it, but there's a couple of things that we went over with Marlene that kind of stuck out to me that were a little bit less clear.
Okay.
And I mean, obviously, we're dealing with large amounts of money here, people's lives kind of converging to a certain extent.
Absolutely.
So from a salary perspective, how much is Mr. Jacques making?
So Mr. Jacques earns $50,000 per year.
Okay.
Is that I believe Marlene earns way more than that. How much exactly was that?
Yeah. So Marlene is making around $150 a year
Okay.
right now as a young, new analyst at a firm.
Yeah. She's doing very well, I've heard. No.
She is. I mean, so is Mr. Jacques. I mean, from what I've heard, he's planning to start a gallery in Soho. So I think that's looking great. I mean, obviously that's a great investment to begin with.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Any other questions you had on Mr. Jacques'
I mean,
earnings or?
a couple of questions I really didn't ask. So again, he's making around $50,000 a year.
Yeah.
I know their agreement amongst themselves is that he usually or generally will pay the rent on the apartment that she was originally living in, and then he moved in. From what I understand, that's the same.
He moved in when I think it was a year after.
Yeah, a year and a half.
together.
Yeah, a year and a half.
Yeah.
About it, from what I was told.
The apartment was bigger, and Marlene was well set for a while. So
Yeah, for sure.
Jacques, it wasn't a big deal for Jacques to move in. They're very happy at that place.
Yeah, which is great. So I'm just curious. I mean, I don't have the numbers because I guess maybe she forgot to mention to me. But how much is the rent on like a biweekly basis or a yearly basis?
That's also something Jacques forgot to mention to me. All he told me is he pays he pays as part of the rent.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the distribution of it, to be honest with you. But they both share rent. That's all I know on the matter.
Okay, cool.
Was that a concern for Marlene? Or?
No, I'm not concerned. I'm just trying to understand,
Yeah.
where this is going to be, give and take to a certain extent. And I guess maybe before we continue, maybe if we like set the agenda a little bit. So we have 10 items I think that are really important to them.
That was set, yeah.
Yeah, so those being one, the car, the apartment, the future claims on Jacques' artwork, the portrait of Jacques that Jacques made of Marlene.
Yes.
Is very dear to her. Of course, their joint checking account. That's the obvious one. It needs to be under any type of prenup or any
That's
type of,
that's a common one.
For sure. Let me just make sure that this is the here. Sorry,
Recording.
Yeah. Okay, we're good.
Right on.
All right, and yeah, of course. So going forward, there's a $1 million inheritance that I have a couple of questions about actually.
Okay.
That Mr. Jacques is expecting on the condition. I'm assuming that he's a child, from what I understood last time.
So it comes from his grandfather on his father's dad, and exactly like you said, he has discussed about it with Marlene, and his grandfather's terms on how do you call that again?
The inheritance.
Yeah, on the inheritance terms with his terms with was that Jacques would only inherit of this $1 million when he will get his first child.
Okay. So
And that's just for the purpose of continuing the family name. It was that's the older generation, and that's how his grandfather was. And I mean Jacques, that's how it is for him. He didn't choose his inheritance.
No.
But yeah, that's gonna come someday, I guess. I believe Marlene and Jacques discuss of having children in the future together as well. So it's definitely something.
Oh yeah, it'll be something that they could both use for sure. And once they have a child, it'll be great for the child. Like his education will be paid for
Exactly. Harvard, whatever it is.
Whatever it is he needs, he'll have for sure.
Oh, he'll be in an advantageous situation. That's for sure.
Absolutely. So I guess So maybe just because we started talking a little bit about it, that inheritance, though, from what I'm understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, is conditional on the fact that he has a kid. So if he doesn't have a kid at all, there's no inheritance.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not good, but okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was his grandfather belief, and he truly wanted the family to go on.
Yeah. For sure.
So, I mean, I don't understand it personally.
Definitely an incentive to have a child.
It definitely is. $1 million incentive.
Yeah.
To follow up with that, I don't know if you had any other questions.
No, I just kind of want to run through the items. I mean, I was just going to say then there's the California real estate. I think that was going to come up. The dog, the furniture, and the gallery, of course, that Marlene invested in.
Speaking of the California real estate, I was just wondering. I know Marlene inherited us. No, it was a gift from her parents. Is that correct?
Yeah. So it was a gift from her parents. I think from what I understand here, the original purchase price was around $400,000.
Okay. Has it been evaluated recently?
It hasn't. We expect it to be less than $700,000 approximately. I think Jacques just took a look around to see that it's around $700,000 from what he's thinking.
Something like that.
Something like that, but we think it's a little bit less.
But there wasn't any official.
Nothing official.
Okay.
It's really just a guesstimate, really.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. What else was there left to discuss today? There is the gallery as well, the dog. I think that was it, right?
Yeah.
And the artwork, for sure.
Yeah, the artwork is definitely something that's on the table.
Do you have, any preference to start with? Does Marlene was truly looking forward to?
I think the idea here is that Marlene really wants to show Jacques that this isn't about money.
Yeah, for sure.
This is about the mutual interest of just being somewhat protected while getting married, because you never know, right? You never know.
For sure.
Although she doesn't expect anything to happen, you just never know. So, I guess before we dive into so what's important to Mr. Jacques? I feel like they have very conflicting interests, maybe, or very different interests, which might be a good thing as well.
Let me tell you what Jacques' main interests are. That is very important to him. Everything related to his work. He has dedicated his life to his artwork.
For sure.
He's worked very hard with his hands, renovating the gallery so it's ready as soon as possible. He's looking for an opening, an official opening, I think, in 2 months. So they were, he's been working very hard to get that done together, renovating, decorating, making some partnerships around, and so so that's very important to him. Obviously his artwork has a certain value,
of course,
to it. I don't have any numbers, but it's a very difficult industry to be in and make your name in the art scene, especially in New York. It's it's a great achievement. Jacques is very proud of it, and so everything related to his work is a deal breaker. If he was to find out that Marlene would like to take away his artwork, for example, in case of divorce, that would be a deal breaker.
And I tend to understand that because that's really his identity, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like me taking away Marlene's degree in finance.
Exactly, that's definitely it. It's taking away Marlene's finance skills. That is it.
Absolutely.
So that was Jacques' main priority.
And really, when you say the priority, though, you're specifically pertaining to the actual artwork that he's producing.
Yeah, well, also the gallery itself, because he spent so much time renovating it, and because he already made a lot of publicity on it, he invested so much time making partnerships. He already brought some of his artwork over there, and he loves the location. It's in the art scene, so that's also something that he would definitely need in order to pursue his arts career.
For sure. And is there anything else that's like a deal breaker for him, or that is really important in this case?
Honestly, I think this is it.
Okay, that's fair. So,
what about Marlene? What's a deal breaker for her? What's the go or no go?
So I mean, Marlene definitely understands his interests and wants to make sure that we respect obviously his profession and all that, because she loves it, right? She's in love with his artwork.
Absolutely.
So when it comes to the artwork, it's not as much of a deal breaker as it is for Mr. Jacques.
Okay.
However, that being said, the Soho space that she purchased and she invested in is definitely something that we will have to talk about.
Okay.
But when it comes to the artwork itself, there's only one thing that she held especially dearly out of all of it, and that's the portrait that he made of her.
For sure.
It was a gift. It's in her words, it's the best gift she's ever gotten.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a big deal breaker for her.
You're giving me chills now.
Honestly,
when you get a gift like that you want to keep for your entire life.
Yeah.
It's something understandable.
Yeah, for sure. It's incredible. And there was a couple of other monetary things that we can discuss, and I think we'll really have to sort of get all the details on the table before we kind of go into it. But related to the inheritance, the California real estate,
right?
But it really depends, of course, what other agreements are sort of made.
Understood. And if I may ask, what was the purchase price of the rent, the apartment in Soho for the gallery?
So unfortunately, I don't have that information. However, I was explained, through my information here, that it was extremely expensive. Very expensive.
Yeah, so it's
downtown.
So it's a very expensive
place.
Yeah, for sure. It's a prime spot, honestly. Yeah. And Jacques was so appreciative that Marlene was encouraging him to open his gallery and kick off his career with his own showroom.
Yeah.
And that was it. It truly showed her attention to him, and he was that. I think his love tripled on that the day she announced that to Jacques.
Absolutely.
So that was it's a true sign of love, to be honest, and encouragement, and Jacques was truly appreciative of it.
Great. Well, I'm really glad to hear that. And I think that was the idea behind it, right? She really wanted to help him out and do as much as possible that she can to make sure that they both have a mutually beneficial future.
Okay.
For sure. So. Okay, so going forward a little bit, there's a couple of small things. Maybe if we handle the smaller items, I guess. That being maybe apartment.
I have something I'd like to start with.
Sure.
So Jacques mentioned me with also a lot of emotions. Jacques is a truly emotional guy. Yeah, he really is, and he's in love. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
But he mentioned to me that he has a lot of of affection for their dog.
Okay.
It's Roxy, I believe.
Mhm.
And even though he gave it as a gift to Marlene, you know, she's really she's really busy with her job and
She is.
everything. She works like 70 hours a week,
Yeah.
and that's normal for financial analysts. And Jacques is truly appreciative of our extra financial contribution as well. And the only thing is, you know, since he's more often at home, he takes care of the dog and he walks it every day, and
Mhm.
he really became attached to it. So he would like to keep the dog, you know, if Marlene agrees to it, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the dog is like they don't have a kid now, but I
Yeah.
mean, the kid is, you know, is the dog right now for Marlene, right? So definitely important to her. I mean, if look, we can talk about that as well for sure,
Okay.
and see if, you know what makes sense. And I'm sure that there's other things that are going to be
Yeah.
important as well.
Well, something that I can tell you was less important to Jacques
Mhm.
is the car. Even
Okay.
you know, even though they bought it with the joint account,
Mhm.
you know, a car is a car to Jacques. It's, you know,
Okay.
I know it was Marlene's choice. So you know, she chose the color, she chose the model.
Mhm.
You know, Jacques, in the event, and we don't want that to happen, but in the event of a divorce, Jacques may not even buy another car. So it's,
Okay,
you
I
know,
don't need it.
I understand Marlene needs it for her work and everything. So Jacques would be willing to give that up. You know, if Marlene wants to keep it.
Okay, so how about this then? Marlene expressed that, you know, that the dog is important to her, but I mean, she also knows that the dog is extremely
Yeah,
important
for
to John, right? It's and she mentioned as well that she's so busy that most of the time, 90% of the time, he's
Yeah.
taking care of it, and for that reason, she should be okay with you know, having the dog. Maybe we can, because these are maybe like, you know, more small details. Let's maybe I would agree with, actually, if you were willing to let us keep the car, the dog, we'd be okay with that, because the car,
Yeah.
she needs it, she'd have to buy another one.
I know, absolutely. I think that's a great compromise for both.
Yeah.
You know, it's following both's best interests.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be yeah. I think that would be a good thing to start with.
Okay. Let me just write that down. Make sure I don't forget. Okay. So that's good.
Following that, if I may say, even the car was bought with the joint account.
Right.
And so was the furniture. Was there anything else you know of that was bought with the joint account?
So there is. There was the car, the furniture. Not that actually is it. I think from the information that I have, anyways.
Okay.
The car, the furniture is what was purchased from.
Okay.
That, but also any household expense. Any living expenses they may have had. That was.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, if I'm just throwing like that, like that, but since a car was a more important purchase from the joint account,
Yeah.
I was thinking maybe we could allow Jacques to keep the furniture, moving in a new apartment, although it wouldn't be a big deal for him to buy a new one. But you know, it would just kind of balance things out with the joint account purchases.
Right.
I don't know what you think about that.
So I guess it depends, right? Because I mean, Marlene, for her, was really, I mean, before they moved in, it was her apartment, right?
Yeah.
And you know, she found that apartment was close to work. It was really important for her because, you know, she could walk anywhere.
Yeah.
And so I mean, it depends on whether or not she's going to keep the apartment. She would really like to. And I mean,
keep the apartment.
And ideally, like if she's going to keep the apartment,
Yeah.
she would also keep the furniture. It would sort of make sense.
That's correct.
But that being said, I mean, if there's nothing else we can do to sort of maybe compensate Jacques for that car situation, then yeah, then we would definitely consider.
Well, didn't Marlene had already like quite a lot of furniture before Jacques moved in?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think what we're discussing would only be, you know, the extra furniture they bought after Jacques moved in. Yeah.
Okay, I mean, if that's the case, then I think that would be fair.
Yeah.
So
and everything that was there before Jacques moving in would obviously stay Marlene's.
Okay, I understand. Taking a look here. Okay, So I mean, if you're willing to let us keep the apartment, or to let Marlene keep the apartment, and we'll give Jacques whatever additional or incremental furniture was purchased, I think that would be fair.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's a tough thing to move out.
Hmm.
But I understand. Jacques understands also that the apartment was Marlene's.
Hmm.
She got the contract. She signed the agreement with the landlords.
Hmm.
Even though Jacques is on it now and they've lived together there for a while, I also feel personally maybe it would be fair for Marlene to keep the apartment. Is it close to her work? It was
That's the thing. It's perfectly. That's why she bought it.
perfectly situated.
You know what I mean? So that's the reason why she wanted to keep it.
Well, see, Jacques decided to join Marlene because the apartment was a little bigger than his. Plus, it would have little pets, so that was very nice. But it's not the only apartment that Elvis pet in New York, and I'm sure if he moves out, he's going to be able to afford a smaller apartment. And that I don't think that would be a big deal. So I mean, I'd agree to.
Okay.
I think Jacques would agree to leave the apartment to Marlene.
Okay, that's great. So then
And so the extra furniture.
the furniture offsetting the car, essentially, is what I'm understanding.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So this is good stuff.
Yeah, we're moving forward.
Looking at, for example, because now we're going to get a little bit more into the financials. So we have left to sort of think about the artwork, or the claim on his artwork, which you said is very important to him. So we'll keep that in mind.
The joint
account, the California real estate, and the conditional inheritance that they have a kid with $1 million. So
and the real estate,
and the real estate, yeah. So I think one of the things that Marlene kind of mentioned to me was the Soho gallery. Being that it was like an excessively expensive purchase and a commercial, forget an apartment, commercial.
No, it's prime spot on the
it's
street. It's crazy. I know it becomes crazy expensive.
And of course, she did this with the ideation that they would never need a prenup, obviously.
No.
But that being said, what she's allowed me to sort of negotiate, or to sort of speak on behalf for that place, or that commercial space, is really the sale proceeds, essentially. And the idea is that in that kind of an area in Soho, values are going to skyrocket. It's a great investment even for her.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And she definitely wants, Jacques to have like some type of stake in the game. She wants him to want to take care of the place if anything happens.
Well, that's already the case. He's dedicated his time and energy renovating the place, and that increases the value of it as well.
Of course. But then again, we also have to consider that a lot of those renovations and et cetera, whatever, all those things are happening. In some cases, are being paid by Marlene, right? So
by the joint account.
By joint account and the funds and stuff like that. And Marlene's happy to do that.
Yeah, and that's very nice of her, honestly.
For sure. It's just, again, we're thinking worst case scenario.
Yeah. So I understand her concern, to be honest, because it is like a huge investment. And Jacques he doesn't really see it, from a financial perspective, and he's not a finance guy.
Yeah.
He's an artist. So on his side, it's more towards, his dream of having his own gallery and having his own showroom, right? In a pristine neighborhood. So I think, Jacques also told me that, his artwork has been gaining value recently, and he's been making a few sales. Like his job, it's doing well, and like I said, it's very tough to make a name in this industry, especially in New York.
And she mentioned too that increasingly he's becoming a lot more popular, which is fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And Jacques, I think, he has a financial stability as an artist because his artwork, with the current trend, is only going to increase for value.
Hopefully,
yeah. So hopefully. So I mean, Jacques. I think Jacques would agree to, in the event that we don't want, but in the event of a separation, I think Jacques would agree to reimburse Marlene's purchase of the Soho location, but he really wants to keep the spot. Like I said, it's a deal breaker for him because he's already invested so much time and effort. And it's literally his dream, and the opening is in 2 months, and
Right.
like he must keep it. But if it's a financial concern for Marlene, he's willing to reimburse it. He doesn't have the capital to do it now, but we could take a written
that, yeah.
we could take a written agreement to reimburse it on certain terms.
Okay. And when you say reimburse, you mean like the initial capital investment that she made?
Yeah.
Okay. And was he open at all to maybe splitting the profits of what it's worth? Because obviously, like if the name or the title is going to change, they're going to have to pay capital gains on whatever it's appraised.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand that.
So let's say right now, I think from what I read anyways, the title of the actual apartment, or sorry, not apartment, commercial spaces is in Marlene's name. I'm not sure if you have any information on that.
Okay.
But if ever that were to happen, for example, obviously they would want to change it and put it in his name so that obviously.
Yeah.
And in that case, when that gets shifted over, there'd be capital gains to pay and taxes for like the appraised value and whatever. That being said, as long as there's no housing crisis like 2008, they should be.
So if there is a housing crisis in this event, then I mean, would Jacques pay the lowest value? No, but I think it would be fair. I think we're going into details.
No, for sure, absolutely. Yeah. But I guess my question is, on that property value, let's say they get divorced in 15 years.
Yeah.
And that property, went up like.
Oh, for sure. It could be from 1 million to 1.8.
It could be, and it could be from 1 million to 5.
Well, maybe
15 years, depending on the area.
Yeah, 15 years. That's that's a high appreciation, but still, I understand your point.
For sure. So I guess my question is on the actual split of the profits from the disposition of the commercial space. Is that something that you'd be willing to do? Because we're more than fine with letting him keep it.
Yeah.
It's just like it's also an investment. Like this is her
saving
for retirement and saving for
So see, that's something Jacques didn't really think about because once again, he's not a very financial guy. He's an artist. He's just thinking about his dreams, and he expressed them to me. As really it's an artistic dream for him. He doesn't see it as an investment, but I understand that it could appreciate highly. Now if we value it at I think it would be fair to value it at market price at the time of divorce.
Okay. So let's say
because in the meantime, Jacques will have taken advantage of the location as well.
For free,
sure.
You know what I mean? Like his business, his name, and that's the idea.
For sure, and
that's the idea.
I agree on that. So I think market value would be very fair. Yeah.
Okay, so let's say we were to just maybe dive a little bit deeper in that. Let's say we were to do market value, and assuming that the market value is greater than what it's worth now.
Yeah.
Would you be comfortable with, because this is like, again, one of the key things for Marlene is that the space itself was an investment for her to save, like I said, for her future and for their future. Do you think it would be okay with Mr. Jacques that at least 50% of the profits from the disposition, or sorry, she needed 60%. I misspoke. Would go to her, and then he would keep 40% of the profits because he built that disposition. So let's say it's worth $10 today.
Yeah.
It goes to $20 in 10 years from now. They get divorced.
Yeah.
She will keep $6. He would keep $4, and then he could buy the place off her if he wants to keep it, and they could have that mutual agreement.
For the 20.
Yeah, whatever it was originally
market
that she paid market value. So no, not the market value, the book value of what she paid. So he would get a good deal on the property because he would be buying it for the book value that she paid.
And split the profits.
And split the profits of whatever the profit of the appreciation is. What I'm saying.
Yeah, sure.
That would work.
I mean, is that something Marlene would truly thought about?
Yeah, she definitely wants. Because again, like I said, the idea was to invest in both his career and their future.
And Jacques is going to take advantage of it. So I mean, I think that's fair, especially if Marlene was putting the first cash down, and So I think that would be fair.
So then, if we just reiterate,
the only last detail I could think of on that matter is it's Jacques might not be able to reimburse it right away.
And that we can renegotiate that at that point, if ever. Hopefully not, but
hopefully not.
Some type of agreement to pay it, or
interest rate, terms of payment for
or maybe
a pay period.
Maybe he'll rent it out from her, but the rent will count as payment.
Okay.
Something like that.
All right, so that can be renegotiated later.
Yeah.
As long as we get, as long as Jacques keeps it in the event of a divorce, they split profit 60-40, that's fine. And Yeah, I think that's fair, man.
Cool. Sounds good. And that's gallery. Let's write this down.
Gallery.
And then Marlene sells gallery for the book value, which is what I was screen for now.
Absolutely.
Great. Fantastic. All right. So we have a couple of inheritances.
Do you want to tackle the joint account first, maybe?
You know what? I think maybe we should tackle all three at the same time because the joint account is a little finicky. There's a lot going on there.
Okay.
Maybe let's clear up the joint account because I think we know that the $1 million inheritance is from the grandfather. It's conditional on the kid. The California real estate was purchased for $400,000. The idea is that they'll raise their family there as a summer home.
Absolutely. Hey, imagine their life, man. Summer home in California, $1 million children, and
Indeed. I wish I had that advantage growing up to begin with, but yeah, I mean, they're gonna have a very fortunate life and happy life.
Yeah.
So the joint account, from what I'm understanding, it has $120,000 in it currently. Marlene, so far, I think she said she invested something like 30% around of her salary every year.
Yeah. So does Jacques.
Yeah.
But she earns more than him for sure.
So Jacques puts 30%. You said approximately.
Yeah.
Okay.
They both put 30%. That's what
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So 30% of Jacques' salary is $15,000. $15,000 approximately per year, and she puts around 45.
Yep.
And again, it's not all about money, obviously. I think the idea is that going forward they'll be putting in. So I read. I wasn't sure if she meant that they would be putting the same amount in or the same percentage in of their salary. Do you have any clarity on that?
I believe Jacques told me, and I'm not 100% sure. I believe they're gonna keep putting the same ratio.
The same ratio.
Yeah, so the same percentage.
So 30% of her salary, 30% of his.
I think that's the deal.
Let's make that assumption.
Yeah.
Okay, so in that case, obviously she's contributing a lot more. So they're putting in approximately
3 times more.
Yeah, they're putting in approximately 60K a year.
Yeah.
And she's putting 3 times more. So she's putting 75% essentially of the joint account.
66%.
No.
Well, she puts third.
45.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he puts
15.
60. So that's a third of the joint account. So it's if it's 120,000.
Oh, okay. Okay. So the way I was seeing
I'm talking in dollars. That's it.
Yeah. So what I was understanding was wait. So not I think we're misunderstanding each other. So
Let's say there's 120 in the joint account.
Right.
Jacques contributed a third of this because he earns 3 times less, right?
Okay.
So he contributed 40,000 on the 120.
Right.
That's what it is.
So you're saying present value, what's currently in the account.
Exactly.
So I think what's more important to Marlene, and I think what might have been important to Jacques, obviously, is the future value of the account, right? Like how much will they be putting in? I'm not sure if that's something that is. Are you looking? Is he concerned about the $120,000?
No.
Or
Jacques not concerned about money. He's concerned about love and art.
Right.
So it's really he's not like he didn't really discuss those terms with me. But you can go ahead and let me know what percentage.
Again, I'm just trying to get something that's fair for both of them, but it just makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
So they contribute they're expecting to contribute $60,000 a year every year.
Okay.
Make that assumption, assuming that the contributions, their salaries remain the same.
Right.
He puts in 15, she puts in 45. That means he puts in 25%, and she puts in 75%.
Yeah, correct.
Right. And catch me in my math if I do anything wrong.
No, that's correct.
So.
For a year, yeah.
Yeah. So in that case, again, she wants to be like more than fair. In that case, would you think that sort of okay? Would you think that the fair sort of thing to do would really just be to split it the same way that they'll be contributing?
So you mean 25-75?
25-75.
You know, it's tough. It's very tough to say because Jacques is not. You know, he has a fixed. It's not a fixed salary in art because you know in 10 years one piece might be worth like 250,000.
Right.
You know, and we can't know.
For sure.
So that's the thing. And 10 years isn't that long in arts.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, at the moment, I realized that he's not. You know,
and that's the thing. It's tough because we're in a situation where we have to do the best we can with the information we have now.
Absolutely, and we can't really predict the future.
It's hard,
right?
We can't predict their careers. You're not gonna find
Nobody can. Otherwise, I would already be a millionaire.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Marlene would think that that's fair. I think she would appreciate that, just because again, like if they're going to be contributing that now, maybe there's room to renegotiate that in the future if the risk really takes off and he's making tons of money. But I think like from this perspective, like at this time, I think that would be fair. I mean, it's just taking back what she put in, and he's taking back what he put in.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this time that would be fair, I guess.
Okay.
25%, 75.
All right. Cool. I think that's fair.
Again, you know, Jacques and money is two different worlds.
And you know, Marlene really made it clear that she wanted to make sure that money stayed out of this discussion to a certain extent, right? Like this is what we're discussing, but she wanted to make sure that
they really seem in love, huh?
Oh yeah, it's.
When are you predicting for him to have a child?
Hopefully soon, because they can get that $1 million quicker.
And then, right. Okay, so what's left to discuss? That's done.
So we have the 2 inheritances.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I think this is it.
Right. Okay. So, and the artwork. So the artwork we can talk about again. I think it'll depend on the end because we're talking about big amounts of money now.
So the artwork is, like I said, a deal breaker. It's not like it's his job. It's like if if Marlene wanted a piece of it, I would say it's like Jacques wanting a piece of the bonus Marlene gets on her financial analysis every year. Something like that. Not even on the bonus, just on the. Anyways, I think if we split the joint account fairly like that with fair contribution and equal at the moment present value contribution, I think it would be fair for Jacques to keep his artwork.
And assuming that Marlene would get to keep that one portrait though of her.
If it's so precious to her, I mean for sure. Jacques thinks. Let me tell you, Jacques thinks this is one of the best pieces he has ever painted.
Okay.
And that's why he made it a gift to Marlene in the first place because he was painting her portrait.
Right.
But he truly put his soul into this art piece.
For sure.
And you know how much time it takes to make a piece?
I don't have the patience for it, so I can't even imagine.
It's about a month.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I mean, it was a gift, and what kind of people would take a gift back? To be honest.
And I agree. I think for her, it's really like the sentimental value.
Yeah. So it is for Jacques, but I mean, it's a gift.
Mm-hmm.
People don't take gifts back.
I agree.
It's a portrait. I think it would be nice from Jacques to leave it to Marlene.
Okay, so I mean, assuming that Jacques leaves the portrait to Marlene,
yeah.
we can agree that the artwork could remain his.
That's
like the other artwork.
That's done.
It's good.
Yeah.
Okay. So for the inheritances, one thing that Marlene made sure that she was like excessively clear about was the $1 million inheritance. So there's the $1 million inheritance of the California real estate. Jacques says it's worth around $700,000 right now. I mean, how does Jacques feel about the real estate in California?
Well, I think Jacques feels like it would be a great summer home. he already sees himself, and with kids spending vacations there. I believe Marlene's family is still in California. Are they?
I believe so. I'm not entirely sure, but I believe so. Yeah.
Anyways, he has evaluated approximately at 700,000, looking at the market.
Mhm.
But it's he really looks at it from a family perspective. It would be a nice vacation home for them.
Mhm. For sure.
But Jacques Jacques also he also told me he has high family values, Jacques, and he was pretty close to his grandfather as well,
Mhm.
even though his grandfather made
Okay.
a questionable decision on the inheritance from a lawyer's perspective.
Right.
But Jacques, I think family is family, and an inheritance is a personal gift. So even under divorce circumstances, I think the inheritance should remain separated.
Right. So I personally agree with you. I personally do. However, Marlene made it clear that because the $1 million inheritance is specifically for the upbringing of their child, and because she's in a sense putting her life at risk by having a child, she could die in childbirth. All the health implications. For him, it's easy, right? He has the easy
For
job.
sure.
She said that she feels like she should be entitled to some of that, while also maintaining that the Californian real estate, because they're looking to raise their family there, is something that should be also looking to maybe give and take a little bit with that.
Okay, give and take.
Yeah.
Okay, so she'd like to split that up, like
depending, but
okay.
Yeah, and also she also mentioned that because real estate goes up in value quite a bit, and the $1 million is only losing value because it's the nominal fixed.
Right.
That we should consider that. So yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts on this? I mean,
well, it's something that could be discussed. One thing for sure, Jacques told me is this $1 million is going to go to the child. Like we mentioned, it's going to go to education. It can, he's gonna Jacques. He's a very he shares everything he has. He's a very generous person.
Yeah. So
as soon as they have a child, they're gonna. Jacques reassured me that this money will be spent on the family. The only thing is that even with a child, couples get divorced. Unfortunately. So I mean, I don't know how much of the real estate Marlene is looking to share, and how much of the inheritance she's looking to get. But I personally believe inheritance should remain separate, and it was also Jacques' expectations. I think we came to very fair agreements on everything, especially everything financial. Jacques doesn't really want to hear it, but it's it's like a family thing.
Agreed. And he's not at all interested in the California real estate?
Well, it's not. He's not interested. He's not interested about it financially. He's looking forward to spending time with Marlene there, and if she keeps it, it's also it's real estate. It has appreciation.
Yeah.
It appreciates value.
That's the thing. It's a great investment too.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so let's maybe make the assumption that the real estate is worth $700,000. Jacques said that he'd done a bit of research. That's the best number we have right now.
Yeah,
that's the market value. The $1 million inheritance is obviously $1 million. Because the Californian real estate is going to go up in value, and obviously the $1 million inheritance is specifically geared to helping the child, succeed.
Yeah.
Do you think Jacques would be okay with perhaps doing something like an 80-100 split, in the sense that we would give you the California real estate in the event of a divorce? We'll give you 100%.
And who gets the 80% inheritance?
And then the 80% of the inheritance will go to the child, essentially. But
through Marlene?
Through Marlene.
Oh, okay. That's an interesting thought.
And if ever he needed to, obviously he could sell the real estate. And
obviously. Is it all paid, your real estate?
Yeah. It's all paid. There's no mortgage, no loan.
Okay, there's no loan.
No. It was a gift. It was, she has the keys and that's it.
Are there any reparations to do?
Not that I know of, no.
None that you know of?
No, nothing that I can.
Well, let me ask you why. why does Marlene?
Marlene feels really, like I mentioned. I mean, for Marlene, to be honest with you, the inheritance or the conditional child inheritance essentially is a deal breaker for two reasons. One being that she'll be carrying the child for 9 months and potentially impacting her health and all that, and also just because of the fact that she wants to make sure that $1 million inheritance goes specifically to the child. She wants to maintain
That's fair.
that.
I mean, it goes in the principle of the inheritance that the grandfather put. Okay, you know what? I mean, I understand better now that you explained me why Marlene, is looking for that deal to be made, and if it's true, Jacques is also looking to spend that money on the child. So, if there's an exchange like that, I think, theoretically, it's is an inheritance. Because theoretically, that's a $100,000 loss for.
However, the inheritance is losing value every day. It's not given to
Is it? Is it not like?
Well, it's a nominal $1 million, right? So every minute that he doesn't get it, he's not investing it or using it. As opposed to it's a depreciating.
Would you allow me to review quickly my notes?
Yeah, sure.
That Jacques left me.
Sure.
100%, 80%.
I mean, if that's what you're comfortable with, we can either restart at that or we can.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
That works?
Yeah, that works.
Okay. Great. So
we've discussed everything.
I think we have. Let's just make sure. So let's maybe reiterate to make sure that we're all on the same page.
Yeah, for sure.
So Marlene has we just said she'll lose 100% real estate. And
so 100% of the real estate, 80% of the inheritance to Marlene.
And you know what? That extra $2,000 or $200,000 is really to also help him, for example, get a mortgage if ever he needed to buy the Soho place.
Yeah. Honestly, it's not an ideal position for Jacques to be in. I mean, was Marlene really anchored?
It's definitely a deal breaker for her.
To have a piece of the inheritance.
To have a large portion of the inheritance, because again, her idea is that she wants to make it specifically go to the child directly. And I mean, again, this isn't a monetary issue.
No,
for
I
her,
understand.
Right?
Protecting Jacques' interest. Do you think Marlene would agree to 70%?
Let me just check them. I think at that point, I think she'd probably even
because Jacques also gave up the apartment, which he wasn't, he understood because it was Marlene's and everything, but it's still, something else that he's.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the apartment was something that she definitely wanted, but I mean, that being said, I mean, it was her apartment. She furnished it for the most part. We're sharing the profits on the sale of the Soho place, even though it's in her name. She could walk away with it if she wanted to. I mean, I think she'd be really firm at the 80%, to be honest.
Yeah. What if Jacques gives up on the profits of on the Soho sale?
So she would get basically 100% of the market value of the gallery.
Well, let's say 80 instead of 60. Would that incentivize Marlene to share a larger piece of the inheritance?
It would, and the only way that might
so the inheritance truly
the only way that might help her out is if she were to get 100% of the profits on the gallery.
Okay, and how important would that be to her?
The gallery, from a sentimental perspective.
No, but the profits. I mean, if Jacques was to give up all profits on the Soho, you know, Jacques is not looking to make profit on this, so it's truly his artistic dream. Like,
Of course.
yeah. So what if he was willing to give up 100% of the profits?
If he was willing to give up 100% of the profits, assuming that he buy back
Yeah,
at book value,
at market
that
value.
stays.
Yeah. On futurely negotiated terms.
Right. Just want to make sure. So assuming that would be it, then she would be able to go down to 70%, but she'd have to keep 25% of the California real estate.
Because if we're talking, let's say, 1.8 million apartment instead of one, and he's giving up, 100% of the profit, that's $800,000.
But again, it depends on how well he takes care of the space, and in this case, like it opens her up a little bit to a bit of risk in the event that something bad were to happen or something, and he were to be mad at her and he wanted to close the gallery and trash it. He could.
I mean,
he could.
Well,
or not take care of it,
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, Jacques,
I don't think he would ever.
From my understanding, Jacques is not that kind of guy.
But artists are passionate, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, for sure. I mean, if Marlene could do 60% of the inheritance and then Jacques give up all profits on the gallery sale, that could be great on it. Otherwise, Jacques is still looking for, for this marriage, and I'm sure, money isn't a big deal for him. It's just that I feel like my customer is giving up a lot.
Okay. Let me see here. But yeah, the thing is, I mean, you have to also consider that we're giving you the California real estate, which is only going to appreciate in value.
Yeah, but
that was the idea
it's not like it's Jacques' family home. Like, he's never been there yet.
No, but he could sell it the next day.
Yeah, I understand, but it's not like, it's just, it's not something he had thought about that Marlene would do.
Okay. So let's think here. I think Marlene. So if we were to go any lower than the 80%, I think the gallery is definitely something that she would look into to sort of just recuperate her investment essentially.
Yeah, I understand.
So the 100% will be granted, but then again, we don't know how much that's going to be worth in the future. And again, the inheritance is only losing value in a sense. So if we were to go down, take the 100% of the gallery, give you maybe, let's assume 70% or 65%. Let's see what was her cutoff here.
Like 60%, 40% of the inheritance, and giving up all profits on the gallery, I think would be fair for both parties.
I think at 70%, I think she would have a bit of trouble. If for example, the California real estate were just given away.
Okay, well, how about...
What if she were to keep a small claim, like 25% in the real estate? I think there would be a deal there.
25%. Wait. So 25% of the California real estate, and then
we'll go down to 60 for the $1 million inheritance. But that's really the best that you can do.
60 on the inheritance. So Marlene would get 60. Jacques would get 40.
Mm-hmm.
What was the initial offer? 100% and then 80%?
Yeah, it was 100 or 80.
Okay, we're still, I mean,
he's getting more of the claim on the inheritance, which was clearly something that's important to him.
Okay.
And we recognize that, but the thing is, if we're gonna, that would have been assuming that the sentimental value, that the family aspect wasn't too huge. But if that is important, then I think maybe for both of them at that point, her keeping just a little bit of the California real estate as really a place for her child to be able to at some point go to and use, and assuming that they would both be able to use it. I mean, if they're divorced, maybe they would agree to not be there at the same time or something. That could be discussed, of course.
Well, we'd have to do 20%, not 25.
20%
of the real estate.
Yeah. I think she'd really be stuck at 25 here. If she's going down, because the thing is, if we're going down $200,000 for for the current market value of the $1 million inheritance. So I mean, we're going down by 20%. It's tough.
Yeah, well, don't keep in mind that Jacques here would be giving up all profits on the sold place.
Right.
You know, and if Marlene was willing to give up 40%, you know, that 40%, Jacques has no intention, and no interest in the financial value of the Soho location.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, he's really, you know, he would gain a lot more from having Marlene's trust, keeping a larger share of his inheritance. Because, you know, even though I understand Marlene's important, that is according a lot of importance to the inheritance because she wants to make the child take advantage of it.
Mm-hmm.
So does Jacques, and that must be clear in between us and in between them. This inheritance money is going to go to the children, to the child, no matter what. No matter if they divorce, you know, Jacques he's a gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they divorce, I'm sure Jacques would even, you know,
of course,
share a larger share that we agreed to on, you know, on the inheritance being spent with the child. So I think, you know, it's just Jacques on the sole location. It's not in Jacques' interest to make profits out of it. He, you know, it's just about art and his dream and fulfilling his dream.
Mm-hmm.
So if Marlene wants to, you know, keep 100% of the profit, you know, we just need a larger share of the inheritance.
Trying to see how we can make this work. Okay, so what if we were to go down to,
because I know he's going to be willing, you know, to give up any profits on the solo location,
and that's okay.
Well, that's a big deal, you know.
You know, and I agree, and I think that that's a large concession for sure, and I think it's definitely going to be appreciated by Marlene, considering all these other factors. What if we go down to 20 on the California real estate, even though she told me not to, and maybe just because, you know, divorces can be tough, and we want to make it as easy as it is, you know, for both of them and for her especially. What if we? I don't want to double back on this, but what if we just let her keep the incremental furniture? Then we can go down to 20%, but the furniture.
20% on the real estate.
Yeah, so we'll give you 20% on the real estate.
So you'll give Marlene would give Jacques 80% of the real estate.
Exactly. So she would keep 20%.
Okay.
He would take 80.
What about the inheritance?
The inheritance, we would go down to 60, like you offered.
Okay.
That she would keep. And then all that we'd have to do is just obviously the profits. The monetary value is again not really a huge thing here. The gallery, though, the investment on that, because she's forfeiting an investment, it would definitely be something that she'd want. But then the furniture would be just like in good faith type of thing, so that, you know, the divorce is clean. It's no, you know,
that that would put Jacques in a worse position than the previous deal we had mentioned.
Oh, really?
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay, and why's that?
Well, furniture is just a little extra. You know, he paid for, I think it's just a TV and what was it?
Well, the whole entertainment system.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So I mean, you know, that was just everything else was there when he moved in.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, Marlene is not going to have an empty apartment. But you know, since he's the one taking advantage of that entertainment system, and he also, you know, Marlene, I don't know if she even. I think Jacques told me that Marlene doesn't even know how the control works, you know.
Okay.
So it wouldn't be really advantageous for her to keep it. But I mean, yeah, that would leave Jacques worse off than the previous.
Okay, so I mean, if that's really that important for him, I mean, we can remove that as an option.
Yeah, well, it's not, you know, it's not that big of a deal, but you know, I don't know how important it is for Marlene, you know, the real estate versus the inheritance. You know, Jacques, I'm telling you right away, Jacques can give up any profits on the soul, but we need like a little help. Here on the.
Okay, so then in that case, I mean, we were at 80% on the inheritance before.
Yeah.
What if we sort of, in that case, meet in the middle at 70? And we don't talk about anything else, no furniture, no other changes to the deal.
So 30% inheritance and 100% real estate?
Oh, so maybe we're misunderstanding. She'll keep the 20. So repeat what you said, sorry. I just want to make sure I understand.
So the initial need, well, the initial offer that you made for Marlene was 100% real estate and 20% for Jacques. I'm talking
Mm-hmm.
20% inheritance and 100% real estate. So you were saying you could move to 30%.
Right, because if we go a little bit lower than 25% of her keeping that, it's a little bit tough on our end. But that being said, we were also asking for 80%. So given the concession that you made with the gallery, she's allowed to recoup her investment on that. She forfeits the investment on the California real estate, obviously. But in that case, instead of going down to 60, would you be willing to go up to 70? That way we're in the middle. And
what do you mean? So 30% inheritance.
So she would essentially get 70% of the inheritance. She would give away. She would only keep 20% of the California real estate. So he would get 80% of the real estate in California.
Well, I thought that was based on the 100% real estate forfeit real estate.
That was the 80%.
Okay. Yeah. No. I mean 80%. Because in all cases, in the beginning, when we said when you offered 20% inheritance and 100% real estate, Jacques was keeping the profits unsold. So if Jacques gives up the profits unsold, we'd expect a little help on the inheritance, or at least keep the forfeit of the real estate.
Okay.
I'm sure we can make something work out.
For sure, absolutely. I mean, another way we could do this maybe is to shift the focus in a sense. If I was to go down from 80 to 60, like you asked.
On the inheritance.
Yeah.
Yeah, 60.
To 60, we keep the gallery at 60, not 60, sorry, at 100% of the profits. What if we were to do, you said the furniture he really needs. And he really can't do 25% instead of 20?
No. How about, I understand Marlene's interest in having a share of the inheritance just to make sure, it goes in the child's interest. How about I offer you the opposite? 80% of the inheritance would go to Jacques, and then 20% of the real estate.
The margin would happen.
Huh?
The margin would happen. That's the deal breaker for her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that wouldn't.
It would definitely not work for Marlene.
Okay.
Yeah. It would be.
So what's tell me right up, up front. You can't be transparent with me. Jacques is not. He's not about money, but what would truly she?
She's looking for a majority at least, so 60% is what she's looking.
In the inheritance.
Yeah. In the inheritance.
Okay.
And the California real estate, she really doesn't want to give up, but she understands that the monetary value needs to be compensated to a certain extent.
So let me figure out something here.
I mean, if we can do the Soho deal with the California real estate at 25%, that will work for us.
Soho deal 100%, 40% inheritance for Jacques, and 80% California real estate. How's that? Is that what you're saying?
That's the same. I'm saying the only thing she would need is that 5% to make it a good deal for her.
On which side?
On the California real estate. So instead of him getting 80, he would get 75.
I mean,
and consider also that this asset's going up in value, whereas the inheritance is going down.
Yeah, but it's still a family inheritance. I mean, if that's truly a deal,
and so is the California real estate.
Yeah, but I don't understand why Marlene is willing to give it up if it's been part of the family and everything.
Realistically, how busy is she, right? How can she take care of 2 homes in 70 hours?
That is correct.
Right?
That is correct.
That's the issue too.
Yeah. I mean, what else could we do here and switch the focus towards that? So we said 25% on the joint account?
We did. Is he at all interested in keeping the entire joint account? Like does he want any claim in it at all? Because, we could play with that. I just thought it was kind of off the table.
Maybe. Let me see here. So he's getting 20%? 25%.
Mm-hmm.
If Jacques gives up 100%. Well, 100% of the joint account,
Mm-hmm.
and Marlene gives up more on the real estate or the inheritance. I think we could make it.
Okay, let me look here. So if he gives up 100% of the joint account,
Well, or whatever, 10% or 50.
yeah.
Not 100, but whatever would not make a big difference for Marlene.
Yeah, see, I think at 75% she's happy with that. I don't think, unless you were like to forfeit the whole thing, it would make a difference for her type of thing.
Okay.
Just because again, they don't know what they'll be making then.
And how important would it be to forfeit the whole joint account?
I mean, it's not about the money. It's just making a fair deal, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, 25% of 100. Let's assume it's 120 grand perpetually. 20, that's like 25, I guess. 25%. Yeah.
The portrait was the deal maker too.
Sorry.
The portrait was a deal maker. Huh?
Yeah, the
That's
portrait.
close
That's
deal. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Understood.
Look, it's tough.
I feel like we're very close by. Money is no big deal here. We want love, happiness, a child, babies. So let's make it happen. I mean, I'm sure we weren't far. I'm sure we weren't far here with the first deal you offered. Okay, so let's initially everything else remaining the same that we discussed in the first place. 80% inheritance to Marlene and 100% California real estate. If Jacques gives up on 100% of the sole profits, what could Marlene do best? Tell me now. We'll make it a deal. Jacques will be happy.
Let's see here.
So either give a little more of the joint account or take a little less of the inheritance.
Okay, so
and Jacques will leave 100% of his whole profit in the event of a sale.
Just calculating here. We'll
Yeah.
make it for her.
Take your time.
So the inheritance is the tough thing. And he wouldn't be willing to go up to 70%. You said for the inheritance, right? Only all else constant.
I mean, with the 100% real estate. I think if we can do 100% real estate and 70-30 on the inheritance, that would be good.
Sorry, 100% real estate and
there's 70-30 on the inheritance.
Yeah, but that would be worse than the deal that I gave you to begin with.
Yeah, but Jacques would give up 100% of the soul. That's my
okay,
that's
okay,
my
that's still
point
okay.
here.
That's okay. I want to make sure I'm still there.
That's an offer I'd like to make. I think it would be fair. 100%.
Okay, so let's repeat that, just to be sure.
So 100% of the appreciated value of the sale on the sole location.
We'll go to
and
money.
we'll just go. Jacques will keep 100% of the real estate, and we'll go to 70-30 on the inheritance.
And he will get. Okay, so then he would keep 100% of the California real estate.
Yeah. And 30% of the inheritance.
It should be worse off that way. I mean, if you can.
Worse off, even though
The
Jacques
thing is,
is
before she was retaining a little bit of that California real estate, right? You were on 25 and 20.
No, before that we were on 20% inheritance and 100% real estate.
Right. Without anything else considered.
Yeah.
Right.
So now, if Jacques gives up 100%, all I'm asking for is an extra 10% on the inheritance.
Would you let her just keep just a little bit to say that it's still in the family, 10% of the California real estate? He would still be able to sell as he wishes. It'd still be his in the majority, obviously. Just to say that she would still be able to go there and bring her family.
Well, that wouldn't bring him further than having 100%, 20%. So if he's giving up 100% of the sole sale a profit, then just whatever because he can't get more than 100%, and I know you can't give less than you can't give up more than 60% of the inheritance. So 30% would be fair, or we do 40-60 on the inheritance, and then 80% on the real estate. How about that?
I can't go down to 80% if we're going to do that.
No, huh?
Okay, well, look, how about this? The last three things we're trying to negotiate here, the gallery, you said, well, Marlene will take 100% of that. We'll retain 70% of the $1 million inheritance.
Okay.
And if she says she's okay with retaining only 10%, you said that's a no deal.
No, that's the thing. Like 10% or 20% doesn't.
So at 100% Soho, 70% inheritance that goes to Marlene. If she were to forfeit the California real estate entirely, then we have a deal.
Yeah, 70% inheritance, forfeit the real estate, 100% profit of the Soho. That would be a great deal.
Okay.
I was trying to be creative here.
Yeah, no, me too, for sure. Okay, let's make a deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right on. Glad to
Good.
hear that. I'm sure we'll have a successful marriage.
Yeah, I think we will. So, great.
Hopefully we'll see each other there.
Hopefully we'll get invited.
With a flute of champagne.